Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast powered by Closers.io, where we dive into the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and explore the road ahead for them and their companies. I'm your host, Mishal Saeed, and in each episode, we uncover the stories behind impactful ventures, the challenges faced along the way, and the strategies driving their future growth. Today, we're thrilled to have Peggy Sullivan, a women's leadership speaker, mindset expert, and founder of SheCAN, joining us. Peggy brings over 20 years of experience in personal development and wellness and has worked with tons of different organizations and is the author of Happiness is Your Responsibility, empowering thousands of women through her nonprofit SheCAN, with achievements like earning the 2019 Women in Leadership Award. We'll explore her founding story, how SheCAN is reshaping women's leadership, and her vision for scaling this purpose-driven business. So let's dive in. Peggy, welcome to Founders Future.
I just want to also mention that I have a new book, Beyond Busyness: How to Achieve More with Less. And I'm really focused on that particular concept of time poverty, not having enough time for what's important.
Awesome. Love that. So let's kick things off now for the listeners. Take us back to the beginning, Peggy. What specific problem was it within the wellness or leadership landscape, perhaps around busyness or women's empowerment, that actually inspired you to start SheCan and focus on happiness?
Absolutely. My name is Peggy, and I am a busyness addict in recovery. I worked at a lot of different jobs, and I was always doing really well, raising the bar. There was a point in my life where I was vice president for very large teams at Blue Cross Blue Shield, United Healthcare, and Materion. And I would live with a post-it note attached to my phone reminding me what time zone I was in and when I needed to leave that particular city and go off to another one. So while I was moving fast and getting things done, my life was very chaotic. And then one day I came home and I was ravenous, 10-hour day. And so I looked in the cupboards for anything to eat. I landed on this bag of stale pistachio nuts and I chopped them down. And next thing I know, I looked down and my cat Dazzle wanted to eat because he hadn't been fed for 10 hours either. So I threw some kibbles in his dish, fell asleep on the couch. Okay, nothing new and exciting here. But an hour later, I woke up to this, and it was my cat throwing up pistachio nuts. And I realized I just ate pet food for dinner. I was in such a burnt out haze, I did not even realize it. So, about at the same time, my father was pretty sick. So I decided to take some time off to take care of him. And when he passed away, I wanted to really focus my life on something that had meaning and purpose. So I started doing a lot of market research. And when I asked people, both men and women, what's your biggest challenge year after year after year, it was, I don't have time for what's important. So here we are today, and I am trying to help people find time for what's important through my busy busting process.
Love that. Now, on that note, would love to get into the nuts and bolts for our listeners and even potential clients of yours that may be listening in. Would love for you to walk us through how your business generates revenue today. What are some of the deliverables? What are some of the core offerings, whether it is workshops, coaching, mentorship, keynote speaking? How do you structure what you do in terms of some of the services for clients?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm author of a book, and anybody who writes books knows that you write it for thought leadership and to crystallize your concept and get really good with what words you choose to share, but it's not a money-making endeavor. I get most of my income from speaking, and I do a lot of workshops, and I also do consulting, and I do different types of courses that take people through the busy busting process: subtraction, happiness rituals, and value vibing. And most people get 5 to 7 hours back in their work week, which for most is game changing.
Love that. Now, let's say someone comes through the process, a potential client of yours. Map out that customer journey for the listeners tuning in who want to learn a little bit about what does success look like for them at the end of the program. Walk us through that process if you can, and share a little bit about what are some of those assets that you give to them, what are some of those conversations. Would love to learn more about that.
I love to. Step one in my busy busting process is subtraction. We all spend time on low value activities. I call them busy traps, and they chew up our time and our resources. So, step one is understanding this particular individual's busy traps. I invented and developed something I call the Busy Barometer, and it asks 21 questions that is meant to capture low value activities. It can be anything like you go for interruptions, and when you go for interruptions and you let your phone ring or you answer the door of the phone, you pay basically an interruption tax.
Mm,
Or maybe you're going to too many meetings, or maybe you're not starting the day with all your energy because you're not sleeping, you're not eating. Could be a host of things. So people go through the busy barometer, and I help uncover what are the prime things, and we pick a couple of them and we work on eliminating them. So, for example, one of my recent customers, his name was Randy, and he was caught in the email rabbit hole. He started in the morning, he looked at one email, one led to two, to three, to four, and all he was doing was answering emails because he had a big staff. So
mm,
instead, he wrote a email to his whole staff, 6,472 people, basically saying, you know what? Let's think twice before we draft an email. And if it doesn't add true value or truly inform somebody, let's
mm,
not send that email. We've gotten into that bad habit and I want to change it. And he also decided he was only going to look at email twice a day. And he
mm,
told his staff, if you've got a problem, pick up the phone. Lo and behold, at the end of the first week, he actually picked up 5 hours. So he was able to spend them on things that were more strategically important and be able to focus. And that's step one in the busy busting process,
mm,
subtraction.
mm,
Step two is linked to my first book, Happiness is Your Responsibility. When I wrote that book, I didn't understand the superpowers of happiness. I
mm,
didn't understand what happens to our brain when we get really happy. It lights up like a Christmas tree and it sends neurotransmitters to our body, basically telling us you've got more energy, you've got more focus, you've got more resilience, you're
mm,
happier, you're healthier, you fight off chronic disease, and you even live longer. So
mm,
the problem with happiness is our society thinks that happiness it's a destination, a place. I'm going to be happy when. But
mm,
happiness isn't a destination or a place. It's actually little micro moments we create for ourselves. We can stir up the superpowers of happiness with just 3 minutes, 3 short minutes. So, for example, I eat 3 pieces of Dove dark chocolate every morning at 11 o'clock. I smell them, I pop them into my mouth, I enjoy them. And then what I end up doing is I just relax for all of 3 minutes. And honestly, it's like pushing the reset button. I'm just relaxed and ready to go on with my day. So that's step two, happiness rituals. And step three is having a filter for your yes and no decisions, right? Life
mm.
just goes. So
Yeah.
having a filter for our decisions is important. And I recommend people do values management, not time management. Time management is a $10 billion industry, and yet 94% of the population doesn't have time for what's important to them. So I say grab your values and use your values as a filter for making your decisions. I use a values report card. At the end of the day, I list all of my values. So for me, my values are growth, authenticity, human connection, and energy management. Those are the four things that get me to the end of the day feeling like my cup is full. I write four down on a piece of paper, and whichever one I'm not leaning into, I spend some time on it. Easy peasy.
Love that. I love the fact that you really have compartmentalized the ways in which individuals can improve like their efficiency within like their given day and really optimize on those things to where they're consistent, they build the muscle memory to really build on that and then also still stay happy and excitable and feel good essentially, right? There's a bit of neuroscience from really behind what you do from what it sounds like. Now, I'd love to learn a little bit about kind of building on your growth, how you're currently acquiring some of your customers today, which channels, whether it's LinkedIn, your professional network, or referrals, have been the most effective for landing clients for coaching?
Yeah, and for me, the most effective is word of mouth. People see me, they know a little bit about me, and then they decide to hire me. So, word of mouth and referrals is the best. I do have a very active LinkedIn profile with lots of people that I connect with. And I really try to lean in. If somebody wants me to be connected with them, I really LinkedIn and send them a personalized, yes, personalized, not automated message based on their profile and ask them for a virtual coffee. And many times that leads to something really profound. So I don't have a fancy schmancy. I do send out a newsletter. It goes out 3 times a month, and I do get a lot of people from that after they see me speak. They do the QR code, they connect with me, and then many times they also reach out and ask if I will help coach them. And for me, coaching is I want you to get to success.
Yeah.
So, what I will do is when you're done, when you're proficient, when you've learned the process, I say, bye bye, you've graduated it. And if you need a referral, if you need a reminder, we can meet again, but I just want to see you successful. So,
Mm.
that's the way I roll.
Love that. Yeah. From what it sounds like, you're really tapping into referrals, your personal network to really drive a lot of the business coming your way. Now, sometimes we've interviewed guests, and it's a big challenge sometimes, even relying on word of mouth and referrals in your personal network in terms of its scalability and really like that consistency. What are you doing right now, I guess, to explore more consistency, more predictability with like generating leads? What are some of those strategies that you're considering to make client acquisition more reliable?
Yeah, in the beginning, a couple of years back when I first started speaking, I said yes to every speaking engagement, pretty much. Whether I was being paid, not being paid, I just got out there and I got good at speaking. And I spoke very often and I met people. And then people would give me a call. Sometimes it was a month later, sometimes it was 2 years later. And they say, please come speak for my organization. And then I hand them my rate card, and that would always be fine. And then we move forward. So for me, showing and adding value first is the way that I try to move forward. I always try to add value. I always try to show people and let them trust me on their own and see that I am going to add value before it gets to be business.
Got it. So it looks like really just getting your messaging out there and creating a lot more of that awareness about what you do, who you serve to really get more people interested in really wanting to work with you from what it sounds like. Now, I'd love to learn about your approach to sales. What are some of those strategies that have been effective in converting someone who comes through your personal network into a long-term client, whether that's through events, partnerships, your referrals right now? Are you doing it on your own or do you have a sales team as well involved in those conversations?
No, I do have a couple of people that are fractional that work for me on a part-time basis, and they are a huge help. But I'm really not into a lot of automation. I'm very old-fashioned. I think that there's nothing as good as human connection. So my goal isn't to make a sale, but it's to get 15 minutes of virtual coffee with somebody and I'll ask them to talk about them. I'll ask them what their pain points are. And then I will ask them, how can I help you? And most of the time, they'll ask me back, how can I help you? And I'll be like, do you know of anybody who might need consulting or anybody who would hire a speaker? And it just starts to ricochet from there. But it definitely, I put in the time, I put in the personal touch, and I
Yeah.
make a point to really research everybody I'm working with before I have a conversation.
From what it sounds like, it's really just like, how do we build these connections first? How do we get to know people on a very human level before we could even talk about, hey, what is the value that I can provide to them? Understanding their problems, where they're at in their process, and then presenting some of those ideas. So I love the fact that you're really in tune with that. And it's all about building connections at the end of the day. Now, from what it sounds like, the growth has been incredible. For the listeners that are tuning in, some of them are also entrepreneurs still finding their footing within their founding story. If you can share maybe like a bottleneck that stands out to you right now, what would it be? Is it attracting like the right leads, improving conversions on the sales side? What are you most focused on solving to keep all of this momentum going?
I think I really use my values vibing. And if what I'm spending my time on or how I'm spending my time, I use it through the values filter. And if I'm not connecting on a human level, if I'm not growing, which also means growing my business, if I'm not authentic to myself and I'm not preserving my energy, then I don't do it. So I'm constantly aligning my yes or my no decisions with what's important to me. So it's really a can't lose environment because every day you're looking at how you spent your time. And okay, you have a couple of days where maybe you didn't do so good. So the next day you focus on what's important.
Got it. Now, so really, in terms of what the next step is, really with everything you've accomplished and your success, what's top of mind for growing your vision in the near future? As you look ahead, what's top of mind for growing SheCAN and your speaking business over the next 6 to 12 months?
I've got some great meetings coming up with SheCAN, but I'm also leaning much more into my speaking consulting business. It's really taking off and it's lucrative. So for me, I'm starting to put more of my time and my energy into speaking, consulting, coaching workshops. I mentioned that 94% of the population doesn't have time for what's important. And that really shows up in the workplace with lack of engagement, inability to meet metrics. So, right now, I'm really focused on helping organizations and their leaders turn into a place of time wealth instead of time poverty. We all know that everybody has too much to do and too little time to do it, but they don't know how. They don't know how to get off that hamster wheel. So I love to provide them the how with a hands on workshop that is memorable, like nothing else anybody else has gone to. People actually get up and participate in some of the things and they feel the power and how powerful the tools are. And so they want to use them because they see that they work.
I love that. So from what it sounds like, you're really leaning in on really the speaking and the consulting side of the business. I want to get a bit hypothetical here because I really love your passion for women's leadership and then also really enabling people to be more productive within their day and then find the happiness in what they love. If you had like a genie in the room and all of a sudden he appears, you rub the lamp and he gives you all the magic wishes in the world, you have unlimited resources. What would you implement immediately to accelerate the growth of really your speaking and consulting business as you navigate 2025 today? What would you do?
I've certainly invested a lot of money up front in the first couple of years, so it wouldn't be investing more money. I've got a beautiful website. I have a TED Talk that went viral, millions of views. I have a beautiful speaking reel. So I think I'm at the point where I just want more referrals. And the reality is, the more I speak, the more referrals I get. The and I don't use the word busy, the more intentional and joyful I get because I get to add value to people. And that's what lights me up. And there are so many different ways to do it. I'm 65 years old and I've hit this place in life where everything is working well for me. And I want to show other people how to get to that place so you don't end your day saying, I didn't have time for what's most important to me. That's a horrible place to be, a place where time poverty kind of governs your life. And for most women with children and careers,
Mhm.
that's exactly where they're at. Or maybe you're a millennial and you feel like you don't have purpose. What are your values? And so I'll help you make sure that you're living a value driven life and also bringing that into the workplace.
Love that. So from what it sounds like, really giving more to your audience, paying it forward with all of the success you've achieved really at your age. Love the fact that you're focused on really getting more referrals. In terms of like really what that process looks like, some of those strategies, what are you doing? If you can share with the listeners to generate some more referrals and really create more of that consistency.
Yeah, I think the first thing I do is make sure whatever I do, I totally kick butt.
Mm.
I make sure that when I do a speech, I understand who I'm speaking to. I understand their needs. I go in there and do market research to understand what their challenges are. And I customize an experience that is really memorable for them. And it's different approach than many speakers. So that really helps me a lot. The virtual coffees that I have, I really form relationships with people and they're happy to refer me and to help me. I'd say the virtual coffees in a day today where we're all overloaded with automation and video and social media, getting that 15 minutes and actually connecting with somebody because you see them and
Yeah.
because you're listening to what is going on in their life, that is invaluable.
Love that. Love that. Now, honestly, I'm so inspired by everything you're doing going into 2025, enabling really professionals to improve their efficiency and unlock that next happiness. And congrats on the new book as well. We're going to be excited to follow along the journey as you head into 2025. On that note, that wraps up another inspiring episode of Founders Future. Thank you so much today, Peggy, for joining us and really sharing your remarkable insights with us today. To our listeners, if you enjoyed the episode and would like to get in touch with Peggy, you can follow her on LinkedIn. We'll link her profile below in the summary. And don't forget to subscribe to Founders Future wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. If you are interested in finding some more resources and insights at closers.io, feel free to visit us as well, where we're dedicated to helping businesses accelerate their growth through trained appointment setters and world class sales systems. Until then, keep climbing, and we will see you all on the next one.